Hi, this is Stacia, and I wanted to share another Blitz game that was played, and this is a miniature. So we'll continue the miniature series. And this game is really interesting to me, and it's because I played one e4 with the white pieces, and my opponent responded with d5, the Scandinavian. So this video is in the same spirit as my first video, which I'll provide a link below. Because well, there's this theme where white can play bishop c4 and rook e1. I know this looks funny, and think about sacking on e6. And that is what I do in the first video, and it turns out to not be sound. And I try it again in this one. So we're going to look at how the position develops into something where you can think about this sacrifice. And then we're going to look and analyze it. And I think it's really fun to analyze sacrifices. I feel like I have a lot to learn in that regard. So should be pretty interesting. So, okay, I accept the pawn in the Scandinavian, and he took with the queen. I played knight c3, tempo on the queen, and he played a5. And so I like to see this move, but it's just because this is exactly the system I play with the black pieces myself. So I have lots of ideas in terms of how to play against it and what is annoying for me. And well, you might have guessed, the most annoying thing to me is bishop c4 with ideas of bishop takes e6, as I mentioned. So first I just need to develop though. I played d4. This is the main line. Knight f6, knight f3, also the main move, and now bishop f5. The other moves that can be played here are c6, and also bishop g4. And I see that knight c6 is theory, although it's a little surprising to me. I don't think I'd want to block my c pawn, because the whole idea of c6, for example, is to give this queen a nice retreat square on c7. But you usually don't need it until the bishop comes here, and then maybe you'll need it. Okay, so one little nuance to look at real quick. If bishop g4, I actually find this to be annoying as white. So I'm seeing the computer likes h3 here. And I think I learned why playing h3 immediately is good. Black basically has two options here. And this is called the Lasker variation. Huh, I did not know that, so I just learned that as well. So black can take, or black, I mean, I guess they could pull back to f5. I don't see the point of that, though. The other move, though, is bishop h5. So the thing about this move is both are kind of good for white in a way. Like, if black were to take, I take with the queen, and now I can claim an advantage based on the bishop pair and also a little more space. And if bishop h5, I think here white can go g4. And after bishop g6, the reason this is okay is because my king is still flexible and I can intend a castle queenside. And I'm basically saying that maybe the inclusion of this expansion on the king side is beneficial to me since I won't be castling here. So I just wanted to go over that real quick. But in the game, bishop f5, and oh, and the other thing is that I like to play the move knight h4 at some point. This is a move that works well with the sacks on e6, and you'll get to see an example of this. So when the bishop is on g4, there is no knight h4 chasing the bishop off the diagonal, but there is h3. So I guess h3 works in the same spirit, except they can take in this case. Okay, but let's go on with the game. Bishop f5 was the move chosen. I played bishop d2, And I think this is just a little bit annoying for black. He should play c6, which he did. Like I said, he needs to be prepared for these discoveries and retreat the queen to c7, or maybe even the d8 square. Okay, and I played bishop c4. You know my intentions. e6, castles. And now here, he played knight b to d7, and I actually think this might be slightly inaccurate. Computer says it's playable and that the position's equal. Okay. Rook e1, and now I'm putting my rook opposite the king, and I'm kind of eyeing this e pawn. So one of my first questions, though, is what if black just castles queenside? You know, this seems like a reasonable move. But here, I do have a couple annoying knight moves. So I have knight d5 and knight g5. And I'm hitting this pawn. And now I can see why knight b to d7 is a little annoying, because black would probably like to play queen c7 here and defend, but this knight is in the way. And it says, yeah, let's see. So let's say I play knight g5 here. Computer gives bishop g6, just defend it that way. And then I can play knight d5. Yeah, and this is a common discovery in the Scandi where it looks kind of crazy because obviously the knight's attacked, but this works because the bishop is defending the knight and the queen's under attack. So the queen would love to take this knight but cannot do so. And notice how the knight is taking these squares away from the queen. So this is actually, this actually looks really good for white to me. So maybe this line isn't so good for black for this reason. Yeah, I mean, so what I'm noticing now is when you castle queenside, the rook is now occupying the d8 square. So that's really important to know. So not only does it leave this pawn hanging, but it takes away an escape square from the king. And now this knight d5 move is going to be really annoying for black. So, okay. And that's the first thing I've learned. So let's continue the game. So again, I'm just developing, getting ready to sack on e6. You know, I don't have to, but I'm just kind of preparing to do that. Knight b d7. The other reason, as you'll see, is that, well, it's really the same reason. When the queen comes back to c7, oftentimes the queen needs to defend the e7 square in the sacrifice lines. So this knight being here might be an issue for black. And in fact, I usually wait to develop that knight last when I'm worried about sacrifices. But my opponent, you know, I don't know if they're aware of these sacks or not. Rook e1 was played and queen c7. So, okay. So we have a situation where I thought the sack might be good because if he blocks with bishop e7, I might be able to pin and win the bishop. And that was sort of my idea. And but right now this bishop is still defending the e6 pawn. So the first step before sacrificing is to get that bishop off of the e6 square. So I played knight h4. Okay, and he played bishop g4. I'd probably play the same move. I like it. It's just attacking the queen. It's a little annoying. f3 is a tiny concession. And now he dropped back to h5. And now the critical moment of the game. So I'd like you to pause your video at this point and ask yourself, would you sack on e6 here? If you'd like to pause, go ahead and do so now. Okay, so I can see now that the computer is recommending different moves, which means it's probably not sound. But why? I think I know. I think I know. My prediction is that King F7 is the defense. All right, so, and the best move in this position is actually G4. Yeah, G4, interesting. And I do want to kind of peek at this real quick. If G4, Bishop G6, we're not going to take the bishop right away. We're just going to further develop with Queen E2. But okay, as you probably know by now, I like to sack on E6 and just see what happens. So I played it. Bishop takes E6. Now he should take, and then I take with the rook. Rook takes E6 check. And now I think we should look at what moves black has available. There's not a whole lot of options. There's only a few legal moves here. There's Bishop E7 to block, so that's one idea. There's King F7, just moving the king. There's also King D8, and is that it? I think that might be all. Yeah, I don't see any other legal moves for the king. So in the game, Bishop E7 was played. And here, I think this is a critical mistake. Because now I had the move Knight F5, and I'm attacking the pinned bishop. And now that little nuance that the queen cannot defend this bishop, you can see now that that's playing a key role here. I don't know what black does. I think they're lost. So in the game, you know, I was expecting Knight F8, but that's not a good move. I mean, he played here. What did he do? He went Knight D5. Oh, this knight to D5. So yeah, I mean, I guess he was hoping I didn't see that defended the bishop, but I can just take that. Yeah, and in the game, this is kind of how it went. So the sack worked in the game. Although I'm skeptical, of course. I like to analyze and know if something's correct. So, you know, here I can take the bishop. And after King D8, I had some pleasant choices here. I think everything's winning. Rook takes G7's winning, and Bishop G5 is winning. Yeah, I like Bishop G5. What did I play in the game? Let's see, here. Oh, I took with the knight. Yeah, so instead of rook takes E7, which is totally fine and looks really good, I played knight takes. They're both good moves. Now my threat is knight takes D5 check, winning the queen. And my opponent missed that. So this is how the game went. I got to check the king and attack the queen at the same time. And even though he can take this, I'm also now forking. And this is, of course, game over. But I'm more interested, though, in analyzing the other defenses that black had available, because in a real game, okay, this is just a fun blitz game, doesn't mean so much. But in a real game, like let's say this was a slow time control game where I'm going to be playing for 4 or 5 hours against somebody. Well, in that case, I better make sure that the sacrifice works, right? And so the reason I like to look at this line is because I would really want to play it in the game. I'm going to go back to the position so we can look at it. Yeah, it's right here. So after Bishop H5, I'm really thinking hard about this sacrifice. But black does have a defense here. Now, I actually thought king f7 was good, but king d8, the computer thinks is even stronger. So even though bishop e7 loses, it turns out that black does have two good moves here. Now, the other thing to remember in these types of positions is that the computer is going to give black a plus and say black is doing well. But on the other hand, this is a very, very dangerous position for black. And if they don't play accurately and they don't see all of white's threats, it can get very bloody very fast. So that is like a little bit of compensation that the computer doesn't really tell you about. Because just, I think when humans are playing, especially lower rated humans like myself, mistakes are expected, I would say, and very, very likely to happen. So here the eval is -1 for black. And that makes sense because we took 2 pawns for the piece. And yeah, I guess I would play queen e2 here in this case. And in this line, wow, the computer is going to hide the king on g8. So this is an idea that I wasn't aware of. I have sort of seen this before, but it didn't occur to me this game at all, or during the analysis. So so back here, one thing to look at already is to go, bishop takes, pawn takes, check, king f7, and after queen e2, we should be thinking about this maneuver because it seems to me the king is kind of safe on g8, and then this is coming. And the knight's defending the rook in that case, and the bishop is too. Pretty interesting. Yeah, and in fact, I wonder if the bishop can come to f7. Yeah, and that's the other part of the line that I'm really interested in. So I'm going to look at that real quick. So we'll play through it. Takes, check, king f7, queen e2. I mean, here's the idea. We're going to triple on the e file and just ram this ram this rook down black's throat. And black has to defend against that. And I can tell you that I've had that rook rammed down my own throat. So this is why I'm concerned about these lines. So after king g8, yeah, I like this. So this is a sneaky move because now the bishop is not only guarding e8, but the bishop can come to f7 and attack the rook. So yeah, I don't know. What would I do here? I think if I just continue with this plan, then rook e8 is a move. Yeah, rook e8. And now computer, wants to take, I guess, but this doesn't look so promising to me. They can even take with the bishop if they want, which is probably best. And now I don't see a whole lot of compensation, but maybe there's still a little bit of an attack here. I mean, I don't think this check is helpful because this bishop is better on f7. So what to do here? Computer gives knight e4. Knight e4. That allows for a trade. So I don't love this. Computer wants to take this way. And it basically says, though, that black is slightly better in this position. So to be honest, I wouldn't be completely unhappy with this position in a slow game. I think I might be okay with this, although black does have the bishop pair. This rook's not coming out anytime soon. And we do have a nice center presence. And in fact, this e-pawn is a pass pawn, so this might be a real asset. And I think this might be a really interesting way to play. Although I have a lot to learn about positions like this, so but very interesting. And now I do want to look at the other defensive move, and then we'll wrap this up. So the other one that we're going to look at is king d8. So after bishop takes and rook takes check, there is this move, king d8. We know bishop e7 loses because of knight f5. That just wins. King f7 is actually okay. We went over that. Because after queen e2, this move, king g8, freeing up the bishop to guard along this diagonal. And now we'll look at king d8. Now I have to admit, I would be scared to death to play that move as black. I really would. Like, what is this king doing? Like, this rook is blocked in, and I don't know. Can we just not get to him there? I can even pin with bishop g5. Scary. So I'm gonna start with well, knight f5 actually looks good. Let's do knight f5. And yeah, again, this resource, bishop f7. So this is a key resource, it turns out, in this line. Because it's the tempo on this rook. And now we just have to retreat. I'm not sure I want to do this. I know I don't want to do this. If I go here, it blocks the bishop. If I go here, I can't put my queen on e2. If I go here, it's taken. Yeah, I don't see a great square for this rook. I probably would go here. And now g6. So, okay, you can see the defense coming in. Bishop g7, and then this rook's coming over this time. So it seems to me that the real killer defense that stopped this whole sacrifice was this bishop on h5. So after this sack, the problem is when the f-pawn takes here on e6, it opens up this defensive resource. So check. Yeah, and the whole idea, I think, of king d8 and why it's stronger than king f7 is here it takes two moves to we block up the bishop by playing king f7, even though that looks nice at first, while king d8 leaves the square open for the bishop. I don't know why it's doing that, sorry. So that is the key defensive resource in the position. So now I'm kind of like curious, like could we, sorry to go down this rabbit hole, but hopefully you're enjoying this as much as I am. I'm really enjoying this. Okay, so I'm going to go through the line again because now I have ideas to harass that bishop some more. All right, so after knight h4, bishop here, f3, bishop h5. Now this bishop is in position. I sacrificed, takes. Sorry about all the arrows, check. Okay, and so now could we have played g4 earlier? Because now if I play g4, the bishop can already come to f7. So if we go all the way back, queen c7, and here's where knight h4 is played. So after this, and here, can I play g4? Wow, this is fascinating. The computer is calling for bishop takes e6 all of a sudden with a plus for white. All right, I have to look at this, sorry. No, as soon as I take, it says this is good for black, so I don't know what that's all about. Computers are silly. All right, but I do want to try this g4 move, and the idea is I want the bishop to drop back, and then I'm going to take the bishop. And let's see what happens when this bishop isn't here. All right, so he's going to go here, and I'm taking him. And the computer does not like this, and I can already see why. All right, this is a problem now. I didn't consider that. That looks pretty awful to deal with. So I guess Can I play f4? Can I play f4 here? Let's say f4. And I probably don't have time to sacrifice now, do I? Like, doesn't black have a tempo now? Like, it's black's turn. I think they could just castle, right? They could just castle. They could play knight b6, probably works. This is a resource I've seen before because now the queen is defending the e7 square. And it's annoying because I'd have to pull back the bishop, giving black another tempo to like castle queenside or play bishop e7 immediately. And there is no sacrifice after that. And in fact, now I'm the one that has to worry about getting checkmated. So pretty interesting. So my idea of taking the bishop was wrong, but I still want to go back here. After bishop here, here. I still want to go g4. And this time, my idea now is to hold the bishop hostage. Okay, I'm going to hold the bishop hostage and be mindful of this. So if I sack in this moment, let's see what happens. F takes e6, rook takes check. Now again, I think bishop e7 isn't the best. Although this time I don't have knight f5, do I? I don't have knight f5 this time. Now the bishop can take. So bishop e7 is playable this time. But what's the real move? We want to see if bishop f7 is a thing. So let's say he goes king d8. Maybe king f7 isn't possible now, but except it is because king f7 attacks the rook. And if I take the bishop, it's going to open up that same threat. So wow. So if we play g4, we give black counterplay. Yeah, I don't know about all this. So after queen e2, this is still dangerous, of course. Yeah, there is knight b6 now. So the idea is just to get the queen involved. And after rook e1, so this is the triple idea, triple on the e file. Now that same king g8 thing. And I still don't think I can take because I got to do something about this threat here. What to do? I mean, in this case, the queen is defending. So I guess I don't have to. And I could play g5. Interesting. Here. And can we kill black somehow? Like I'm just imagining, you know, the queen coming in with check looks really annoying. I guess the queen will defend in that case. Yeah. So we can take here with that idea. They can even go rook d8 though. Or queen f7 as a defense. So, okay, longest miniature analysis ever. I think we can wrap this up. I am going to go through the key moments of the game. I just think that's a good habit to have installed. And yeah, this was a Scandinavian. I'm going to turn the computer off. So I took queen a5. I love to see it. And now I'm just developing, basically. This bishop g5 idea can be met by h3 right away. So that is something I would do next time. And if they do go here, I'm going to push g4 and castle queenside. So that is my idea for that next time. But they went bishop f5, bishop d2. Why isn't it letting me do that? c6, make a home for the queen. Bishop c4. I'm preparing to apply pressure on e6. e6, and I just want to get my rook on e1 as soon as possible. And then this move, yeah. I think when you're black, you need to be very aware of the awkwardness of this knight because of what I was saying. Queen c7 no longer protects c7. So that is something to keep in mind. Rook e1, queen c7. Yeah, and here, here is where we reached our critical position. So it turns out the sacrifice does not work here. g4 is a little crazy because of threats on the h-pawn. Not sure I would play that in a real game. But here, it's true that bishop e7 doesn't work, but black has these other two resources, king f7 to g8 followed by bishop f7, and they also have king d8 with bishop f7 immediately. So I hope that that was helpful to you to learn some nice defenses against a second e6. I know this can happen in Sicilians and stuff as well, and Carocons. And I have found the sack to be pretty intimidating when I'm playing the black side of this line. So I hope that this was fun, and have a great day. Bye.